we have OK Human by Weezer. It is 12 songs, 30 minutes long. And
30 minutes too long, I would say.
Damn, I was going to say the same exact thing. 30 minutes too long. Also, don't ever put OK in front of your fucking album title ever, unless you are somehow blessed by Tom York himself.
Yeah, you better be, again, to comment on a thing Annie was pointing on, you better be doing some kind of like OK Computer level shift with your sound as a band in order to dare invoke the good Lord's name.
Exactly. Like the good Lord of OK, all caps, human. That's just too close.
Yeah.
And you made this sad wannabe fuckboy Uncle Rocky album thing that is pretty brutal, to be honest.
So Weezer's a band.
Weezer's a band, right? They had some success in the 90s, early 2000s with some decent tracks and stuff for the sound at the time. Nothing spectacular, but Weezer had some decent stuff. And then like in the mid 2000s, some of their stuff was okay. Then
in the 2010s, long story short, they sucked and then became a meme.
Yeah, they sucked, became a meme. Pacific J Dream was one of the worst albums we ever reviewed on this podcast. Not Fall Out Boy bad, because that's like a thing up there. But anyways, moving on to OK Human as an album. It starts with all my favorite songs, and it's just, it's a bunch of 40-year-olds talking about like having angsty teenager feelings, basically. And it sounds like the production and everything else sounds like something that people in their teens would write, or early 20s would write. Not people who've been in a band since the early 90s.
There's definitely a point, the subject matter of the album feels definitely very shallow for a band that has had a long time to ruminate on many different things. But I seem to level with the fact that Rivers Cuomo his voice answers the age-old question Patrick Starr asked, is mayonnaise an instrument? Rivers Cuomo has the blandest, widest, most like devoid of like true emotion voice I've ever heard. Like it looks like if you made Ezra Klein sing.
William Patrick Corgan, as he goes by now apparently, has a better voice than him, and that's saying something because Billy Corgan's voice is pretty rough. But his voice, at least on the Smashing Pumpkins album that happened last year, was fine, and they had decent tracks, and they've been out about the same time. But this is just, it's so bland. Everything is trying to be an introspective on yourself in ways, but they did it in an angsty teenager way, which when you're in your freaking 40s, I guess, or late 30s, early 40s, I don't know exactly how they are, but they have to be at this point.
Yeah.
Is not what you do, because then you sound out to be like a creepy high school uncle or something, so.
More on that never.
More on that never.
F's in the chat. Okay, so you go through all my favorite songs, and like I don't know how like it's one of those. It was the first time since I think that Fall Out Boy album we reviewed about 3 years ago, where 6 seconds into like an alternative rock song, I just like had to pause.
Yeah, me too. I was just sitting there like, it's just horrible. The voice, everything on there, it's very lackluster, very bland. It's just bad. Overall, it's just bad. Stop making music, Weezer. Please, God, stop.
Yeah, I'm like...
And there's a song where it's like, I haven't washed my hair in 3 days. Aren't you bald, bro?
Yeah, Playing My Piano felt like...
Yeah, Playing My Piano.
I could never tell where the song in the middle, like, I never felt like kind of on the nose, but not. Like, I can never understand how self-aware Weezer really is. I hope so at some extent, because they've been doing this for such a long time. But again, I expect something that's a little bit more, like, creatively stimulating and not just, like, a rehash of everything they've done. On that tone, like, Grapes of Wrath is the best rehash of everything they've done I've heard from Weezer in a while. I think it's like a pretty solid track if you like the Weezer sound and if you've told yourself that you are partial to some way to Rivers Cuomo's voice. It's like tolerable, I think, when he just does talking.
Well, he does, yeah, exactly. He did this almost like half singing, spoken word type thing, and that's kind of what he would do a while ago. Or mix it up with different stuff. But the issue with like the first, like all my favorite songs was just that was in your ear, in your face, and he can't do that. It's almost like Neil Young, where Neil Young's voice is terrible, but his songwriting is beautiful.
Yeah.
But you mix that with terrible songwriting, and it's a fucking travesty, as we like to say.
It's a tragedy.
But there are some decent songs on here. Like Grapes of Wrath is a decent song. What was it? Here Comes the Rain, which is one of the latter songs on there, is decent. So there are little hints and glitzes of they still have like the production quality stuff of of a Uncle Rocky alternative band, which is fine on the ears, but then they go back to being Weezer when they're just bad.
Yeah.
Since I think the last good album, a decent album they had was in 2009 maybe, Raptitude, if I can recall correctly. Yeah, Ratitude.
Yeah, I've never been able to truly make it through any Weezer album except for that one Danger Mouse project that was a remix of Weezer.
Oh,
No,
that's
no,
right.
no, that wasn't
So-
Weezer's
so
White
that
Album. It was the
wasn't
Beatles'
Weezer,
White
it was the
Album.
Beatles.
Yeah, thank
Yeah.
God. Yeah, because
Actual really good song.
the real White Album. But
the actual White Album that's not on the nose because the Beatles were like, we want to pose naked on the cover, and they said no. We're like, okay, then we're not going to make an album cover. Literally, that's the whole White Album.
that's the
White Album. It's beautiful about it. And these dudes are just some random whiteys just standing in front of a cover.
Yeah, it's a really kind of sad album. Like I said, there's some glitzes there. I think Dead Roses, Here Comes the Rain, we're like, okay. But most of this is a skip. Again, I could have liked this being 30 minutes long, but
it's 30 minutes too long.
All I can take from Weezer at this point is like an EP level of something.
I can take 3 songs max.
Yeah,
there you go.
like I said, like an EP, not even a drop, like a damn EP. It is terrible. Speaking of terrible, the arbitrary scale this week is futuristic theology-sponsored space weaponry. Of course, all of our arbitrary scales on Audioface are, many of them are references to news articles, and all of them are meant to highlight the fact that the scale has nothing to do with the review. This has to do with new Congresswoman from Georgia, I believe, Marjorie Taylor Greene.
Yeah.
Who basically said that the Rothschilds, I swear to God, I swear to God,
yeah,
like
I said it to him and I was like,
this isn't liberal leftist bullshit where I'm like exaggerating, like calling him a Nazi or whatever. Like, here's pretty much what was said. Marjorie Taylor Greene said the Rothschilds used a space laser to cause the wildfires in California that have been hitting California, I mean, like for many decades, which might explain the Rothschilds thing, but like it's just been like happening for a while. And so like, and again, the Rothschild thing is a reference to long-standing, decades-long Jewish anti-Semitic conspiracies.
So basically, Jewish-based lasers created the California wildfires for the past 5 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, your Congresswoman from Georgia. As I said on my stream, the dumbest woman currently in politics. Which is
saying something.
Again, the moment Sarah Palin like puts her hat in the ring,
you
lose again.
Exactly.
but like
you win some, you lose some. But anyways, so for futuristic theology sponsored space weaponry, this is a solid. I'm
gonna say this is a Zoroastrian spear.
Zoroastrian spear.
Like you just launch it from space like 10 trillion miles away, and all it does is just like hit asteroids and random other galaxies.
This is a born again third stage rocket booster that's stuck in Earth orbit. That's not even a weapon, but it's going to be a weapon in 50 years when it eventually comes back down and crashes into the church, killing a dog.
So that's what they're going to do with Pat Robertson's body. It's going to shoot it into space, then it crashes down somewhere in Mexico.
Fall out in Vegas.
Good Lord.
Oh, Lord Jesus.